The spire of a magnificent church pierces the sky. A voice pleads. Duke Russell's face is flushed. He clasps his hands to his chest, begging, "Please marry my son." Duke Russell kneels before her. The surrounding crowd whispers. Bijah looks down at him. He is proposing on behalf of his son. We have to turn back time a little. A small hand is gently enveloped. A warm light flows in the palm. The little boy looks up at her, his eyes shining with wonder. Bijah is bathed in light. She smiles. "How do you feel?" "Much better." The little boy's eyes are full of adoration. "Yes, Miss Bijah is truly like a reincarnated saint." Bijah smiles silently. The perceptive child shakes his head slightly in his heart. "I'm no saint." Bijah waves goodbye to the little boy. "Goodbye, though I was indeed reincarnated." The smile on her face doesn't change, but her fingertips tremble imperceptibly. Honestly, being a saint might have been easier. Reincarnating twice from overwork. This is too cruel. In this life, I was adopted by a good family. I thought I could finally catch a break. But that was just a vain hope, because the moment I was adopted, I became a tool to pay off their debts, working tirelessly like a puppy just to clear my adoptive parents' debt. A slave through and through. Bijah sighs softly. "At this rate, I'll be working until my hair turns gray. If only 100 million gold coins would fall from the sky." She brushes past the Duke. Suddenly, a jolt from behind pushes her forward. She stumbles. She lets out a small cry. "Who was that?" A gentle male voice sounds from above. "Oh, miss, I'm very sorry." Those golden eyes belong to Duke Russell. He looks at Bijah. "I was in too much a hurry. I didn't see you. Are you hurt?" Bijah shakes her head. I'm fine." A Duke actually apologizing for bumping into someone. She raises her head. "May I ask what brings you to the countryside?" Duke Russell's gaze passes over her, looking into the distance. What else could it be but to pray to the gods? Before the mist-shrouded statue, his figure appears devout. There is no one in the Empire who doesn't know Duke Russell. Of course, he is the only Duke in the Empire. But more importantly, he is one of the few who truly believe in the gods. Not just a simple belief, but a reverence from the bottom of his heart. It is said that anything related to the gods can make him seem like a different person. Duke Russell turns around. He recognizes her. "You're the healer who treated that child earlier, aren't you?" Bijah nods lightly. "Yes, that was me." The Duke's gaze is gentle yet sharp. "You seem very talented. I've been keeping an eye on you. May I ask your name?" Bijah extends her hand. My name is Bijah Riel." Duke Russell's expression freezes. He strokes his chin. "What did you say?" Bijah repeats, "Bijah Riel." He suddenly drops to his knees with a loud thud. He looks up at her. Bijah is at a loss. Yes. He clasps his hands. "I know this is very sudden, but would you be willing to become my daughter-in-law?" A blush spreads across Bijah's cheeks. Her thoughts are in turmoil. "The daughter-in-law?" The cry echoes in the temple. The most handsome man in the Empire. This is an open secret. Just ask any passerby on the street. They will smile and answer, "Young Master Fitz Russell." Of course, it's young Master Fitz Russell. 10 out of 10 times, everyone will give the same answer. Duke Russell's son, Fitz Russell. He has a face as clear as crystal and a personality as cold as ice. It's said that even noble ladies have never exchanged more than 3 sentences with him. He always leaves the world with a solitary, aloof back. Bijah looks at the Duke before her. "You want me to marry your son?" The Duke nods earnestly. "Yes, please." "Why?" The Duke's eyes are shining. "Did you know? My son Fitz's name was taken from a god of the same name. That god cherished his mortal lover his entire life." The Duke's voice carries a hint of anticipation. "Wasn't that lover's name Bijah?" "That's right." He tightly grips Bijah's hands. "This must be fate." Bijah tries to pull her hand back. "But your grace, I'm just an ordinary girl of humble birth. I'm not worthy of young Master Fitz." The Duke shakes his head gently. "Status doesn't matter at all." Dear Bijah thinks to herself, "Easy for you to say. You're Duke, the only ducal house in the Empire, marrying into a rural baron's family. How is that possible?" She holds a bouquet of flowers, yet feels countless eyes staring at her from the shadows. "They'll say I'm overreaching. They'll treat me like a joke. I really don't want to make my life any harder." Bijah bows deeply. "I'm grateful for your offer, but I'm afraid I must refuse." A foot steps in. "I'm sure the young master wouldn't either." A cold, sharp voice cuts her off. "I have no objection." Bijah is stunned. "What?" Fitz's gaze is without a ripple. "I have no objection to this marriage." He stands beside her just like that. The air seems to freeze. He is expressionless, but her heart trembles. The Duke reveals a gratified smile. Bijah sighs in her heart. What is with this father and son? Truly, like father, like son. Fitz looks at her, his voice clear. "I won't have any expectations of you." You just need to stand by my side. Even so, Bija still feels that none of this is right. She turns her cheek. Young master, please reconsider. Is someone like me really suitable for you? Fitz's gaze is unwavering. Why not? His words are cut off by an urgent shout. Your Grace. A knight hurries over. It's an order from the royal family. You must return to the capital immediately. The Duke wants to say more, but I haven't finished talking with my future daughter-in-law. Fitz gently places a hand on his shoulder. Father, please go ahead. I'll talk with her. The Duke waves cheerfully. We'll see each other again soon, daughter-in-law. His figure quickly disappears. Bija looks up at him. Young master, do you really have a reason to accept this marriage? Fitz's gaze lowers. Once my father makes a decision, he doesn't change it. He adds, and you're also very beautiful. A blush creeps on Bija's cheeks. What? Is he teasing me now? But since he's so insistent, I have to make him give up completely. Bija raises her head. Then, young master, since we're discussing marriage, would you like to come and see my home? They walk down a simple town street. Fitz covers his stunning features with a hood. Bija is secretly pleased. Perfect, just as I expected. He must be completely disgusted. Fitz stops in his tracks, looking at the dilapidated corner before him. You live here? Yes, she answers crisply. A few rats scurry past the corner of the wall. Fitz's gaze sweeps the surroundings. What about your parents? Bija smiles and says, actually, I'm pretty much an orphan. A warm voice suddenly calls out, Bija. Her adoptive parents are standing at the door. Bija is a little surprised. Mother, father, what are you doing here? Her adoptive father wrings his hands, his face wreathed in smiles. We have wonderful news for you. Good news? Bija's heart sinks. That doesn't sound like good news at all. A beam of light falls on a magnificent carriage. Her adoptive parents spread their arms excitedly. We brought someone for you to meet. A foot in a leather shoe steps out. A short, stout, balding man appears, a smug smile on his face. Her adoptive father puffs out his chest proudly. This is Count Devon, your future fiancé, Bija. Bija's face turns pale. What? She stumbles. Wait, fiancé? Her adoptive mother speaks impatiently. What are you surprised about? The Count has not only agreed to marry you, but he will also pay off all our debts. Bija turns to her adoptive mother. I refuse. Her adoptive mother's face darkens. Oh, but we've already signed the contract. You can't back out now. Bija looks at them in disbelief. How could you not ask me? Her adoptive parents' voices echo in her ears. Bija, I know this is sudden, but just do us this one favor. After all, we raised you through so much hardship. Her world spins. A sharp pain seizes her heart. Everything they did for me? What on earth are they talking about? Are they talking about when I had a cold and they, afraid of getting sick, locked me up alone, leaving me to cough my lungs out? Or when they had no food and boiled rotten peels for me? Or how about when they threw me out in the dead of winter to earn my own keep? Young Bija's voice trembles in the snow. Matches. Anyone want to buy matches? Matches. The flood of memories overwhelms her. She stumbles and collapses heavily. What happened? A passerby exclaims. That child fainted. Do they really think they've done anything for me? If this was your plan all along, to sell me off. Bija takes a step forward, her eyes cold. She turns to her adoptive parents. Sorry to disappoint you. Bija takes Fitz's arm. I already have a fiancé. She looks up at Fitz, right? Fitz's gaze falls upon her. Bija's voice is clear and bright. The heir to the Russell Duchy, young Master Fitz Russell. Her adoptive parents' expressions freeze, their faces full of disbelief. They don't believe me. Her adoptive mother suddenly bursts out laughing. Ha ha! Bija, this joke has gone too far. Why would young Master Fitz propose to someone like you? Before her words fade, Fitz reaches up and slowly pulls down his hood. An incomparably handsome face is revealed. Her adoptive parents are instantly speechless. That face seems to glow in the sunlight. Could the one who proposed to her really be him? Those golden eyes. He really is Duke Russell's son. Fitz sighs softly. Fitz turns to the adoptive father. It seems you two are not Bija's biological parents. The adoptive father is momentarily at a loss for words. W, what do you mean, young master? Fitz looks at them. Bija is truly surprising. Fitz shields Bija behind him. Such a lovely person. Yet you two are so unbearably cruel. The adoptive mother's face darkens. What did you just say? The adoptive parents huddle together, whispering. A calculating smile plays on the adoptive mother's lips. Bijah watches them. What are they scheming this time? The adoptive mother turns to young Master Fitz. Are you perhaps interested in our daughter? Fitz's gaze doesn't waver. And if I am? The adoptive mother leans closer to Fitz, her voice lowered to a whisper. As long as you offer a higher price than Count Devon, we'll give Bijah to you. A force shoves the adoptive mother away. She cries out in surprise. Fitz's voice is ice cold. Bijah is not your property. Fitz turns to Bijah. Am I right? He holds out his hand. Bijah. Bijah looks up into his gentle eyes. Her heart skips a beat. A smile spreads across her face. She places her hand in his palm. The two leave side by side, leaving the scheming behind them. The carriage stops outside Bijah's home. Bijah lets out a soft breath, her fingers pressing against her tired eyelids. She looks at the small suitcase. There's really not much to pack. Anyway, let's go to the ducal manor first. At the same time, Fitz gives an order to the coachman. Drive the carriage as bumpily as possible. I only called on my fiancée to get out of that situation. The pressure of this sudden engagement is too much. Can I stay at the manor for a year first? Let me think it over. When I asked him this, young Master Fitz surprisingly agreed immediately. Of course. Is this all your luggage? He reaches out and takes her small case. Let me help you with that. Thank you. She steps into the carriage, thinking to herself, it should be fine to let him hold it for a moment. Fitz places the case on the seat, but there's something very important inside. The carriage gives a sudden lurch. Bijah nearly slides off her seat. Bijah sways inside the carriage. Clatter, clatter. She looks at the calm-faced Fitz. Are carriages always this bumpy? Fitz replies impassively. The coachman was hired on short notice. It seems his skills aren't very good. Bijah complains bitterly. Is there any other way besides this? I feel like I'm going to be sick. Fitz thinks for a moment. I'm afraid it will be difficult to find another coachman around here. Fitz holds out his hand. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you can sit on my lap. Bijah looks aghast. What? He continues. If you get hurt, my father will surely take it out on me. Come on. Bijah hesitates. Then, excuse me. She carefully sits down. Fitz's arm wraps around her. I'll hold you tight so you don't fall. She answers softly, oh, okay. This is much more comfortable, although it's a bit awkward. Her heart begins to race, and he smells so good. It's a warm and familiar scent. Bijah, his deep voice rumbles in her ear. His hair brushes against her cheek. That tickles, she exclaims. I'm sorry. Fitz shakes his head. It's fine. She can't help but call out, sir. Could you please drive the carriage a little more smoothly? Cold rain washes over the city, over the rooftops and cobblestone streets. The world is a blur. Bijah lies in bed, her body wrapped in an uneasy chill. A lingering weariness is etched between her brows. She shivers slightly. No, how could this be? Here again. Bijah stands on a broken staircase, surrounded by shattered fragments of lost memories. The dream always brings these broken pieces of her past life, but never lets her see the full picture. A vague whisper echoes in her ears. We must not meet. If we do, we will only repeat the same mistakes. The voices are distant and piercing. Bijah raises her eyes. There's one good thing about dreams. Here, I could do anything. Like this, for example. She holds out her hand, and a warm, golden light gathers at her fingertips. Tithonus's diary. A name surfaces in her mind. A thick, red book appears out of thin air, landing in her palm. She can summon objects from the real world. Someone is persistently collecting this book. Legend says it's a relic of one who spoke with the gods. The memory returns to that afternoon at the orphanage. The director handed the young her the diary, saying it was a memento from her parents. She had accepted it full of hope, wishing it could help her survive, maybe even find her family. But the ancient script was an insurmountable wall. Bijah stares at the diary in her hands, then suddenly freezes. A thought crosses her mind. Wait, I can read it now. Why? I see. This dream is based on my past life's memories. That's why I can read the ancient script. Bijah opens the diary, her fingertips gently brushing the pages. Let's see. To fall in love with a being of a different life cycle. Is this the act of a fool? Endless sorrow flows between the words. She gasps sharply. The diary slips from her hands. An invisible hand clenches her heart. She can't breathe, as if she's privy to a secret she was never meant to know. Bijah, a voice calls out in the darkness. Who's there? A strange boy stands with his back to her. Who's calling my name? Bijah. The voice pierces through the dream. She wakes with a start. Cold sweat soaks her forehead. Fitz sits by the bed, a hint of worry in his brow. You look like you were having a nightmare. Bijah looks up at him. Yes. Her voice is a little hoarse. Where are we now? Fitz explains. The rain was too heavy, so we had to stop at an inn for now. Warmth spreads from his palm. You seem to have a fever. You should get some rest. Thank you. Bijah requests softly, can you give me a wet towel? Fitz turns to leave. Of course. She quietly gazes at his back. Young master, you're very handsome. He stops. Am I? Then your mother must have been very beautiful, too. He turns his head, his eyes reflecting a gentle light. Yes, although she's no longer with us. A trace of sadness crosses his features. I'm sorry. I misspoke. Fitz sits back down on the bed. It's all right. It's been a long time. He gazes at her. But still, Fitz asks softly, what are your adoptive parents like? Bijah lowers her eyes, her breath catching slightly. Her voice is very quiet, just as you saw before. They can hardly be called human. In her memory, there are dark corners, cold scoldings and beatings. The small her had nowhere to run. As she grew up, endless labor replaced the beatings. There was not a single ray of light in her days. Bijah pulls the blanket tighter. When I was little, I was always hungry and had to rummage through garbage heaps. The atmosphere around Fitz suddenly turns icy. I think I've said too much. Bijah adds in a small voice, but at least I don't have to eat rotten food anymore. I see. Fitz's voice is low. His hand at his side clenches into a fist, knuckles turning white from the force. He suddenly stands up. Please look forward to it. He leaves her with a gentle view of his back. Look forward to tomorrow's breakfast. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, the head chef suddenly shivers. Strange, why is it suddenly a little cold? The next morning, gentle sunlight streams into the inn. The table is laden with exquisite food, bread, cheese, fruit, and hot soup. Bijah's eyes sparkle. Fitz pulls out a chair. Good morning, Bijah. She sits down a bit self-consciously. Good morning, young master. Is this breakfast? Fitz replies in a cute tone. No, that's not what I meant. He reverts to his usual expression. Didn't I tell you yesterday to look forward to breakfast? Behind him, one can almost see the burnt-out souls of the chefs. Just because of something I mentioned offhandedly yesterday, he prepared all this for me. Bijah gazes at his profile, and something in her heart quietly melts. Fitz feels her gaze. He turns to her. Thank you, she says softly. Young master. Her smile is warmer than the sunlight outside, her cheeks tinged with a faint blush, like petals dewy in the morning. Fitz's ears turn red, and his gaze softens. He looks away, a little unnaturally. Please help yourself. He enthusiastically pushes the bread towards her. I can get it myself. An hour later, Bijah leans back in her chair, completely satisfied. That was so delicious. I think I ate too much. Even the dessert was a perfect meal. Was it to your liking? Yes, it was the best I've ever had. Before she can finish, a loud crash shatters the piece. The entire building shakes violently. What happened? Fitz immediately shields Bijah behind him. Noisy chatter comes from outside the door. They walk to the collapsed ruins. Someone's trapped under there. Quick, get a stretcher. The crowd is in chaos. Two people come running with a stretcher, start pulling them out from the bottom. The man on the stretcher is covered in blood, badly injured. Bijah's face grows grim. I can heal minor injuries, but with wounds this severe, I'm afraid it will take a toll on my body. But how can I turn a blind eye to a dying person? She steps forward. She explains softly, I'm just doing some simple first aid. Her hands then cover the wound. A warm, golden light flows from them. A dazzling light erupts in an instant. My power feels a little different today. Why is the light so bright? The light fades, and the wound has completely vanished. The people around him gasp. I can't believe it. The injured man sits up. He looks at his own unblemished arm. The wounds are all gone. What? Bijah looks at her own hands, completely unable to understand. I didn't mean to heal him that much. What on earth is happening? The crowd erupts in gasps and praise. The man thanks her excitedly. Fitz steadies her by the shoulders, unconcealed worry in his eyes. Bijah, are you all right? She nods lightly. I'm fine. Bijah's mind is in turmoil. This is incredible. How is this possible? Fitz's voice pulls her back to her senses. We need to go before more people gather around. Bijah looks at her palm, still a bit dazed, but she calms herself. It'll be fine, right? A few days later, the carriage moves along slowly. Amidst the gentle rocking, Fitz calls out softly, Bijah. She stirs in his arms, letting out a soft murmur. I think it's time to wake up. Yes. She slowly opens her eyes. Are we almost there? Yes. The carriage is approaching a magnificent estate. Fitz's expression turns serious. Before we arrive, there's something I need to tell you. After we reach the estate, many people will question our marriage. Rows of maids with cold expressions flash through her mind. So, Fitz gazes into her eyes. From now on, I'm going to pretend I fell in love with you at first sight. He gently takes her hand. The atmosphere instantly becomes intimate. Bija is stunned. What? Young master, you're saying you'll do that for me? He nods lightly. Yes. If I say I brought you back because I love you, no one will doubt it. Bija's cheeks flush. Do I have to act like I'm in love with you too? Fitz's voice is soft. You just need to focus on getting used to life at the estate. That's a relief. Bija sighs. The carriage slowly enters the estate, stopping before the main gate. Fitz takes her hand as they step out of the carriage. Pretend to be in love with him? Just imagining it is so embarrassing. Duke Russell rushes over enthusiastically. Bija, my dear. Your Grace, you're back. He runs up to Bija, out of breath. I missed you so much. Thank you so much for coming to our estate. She thinks to herself, but I'm only staying for a year. Duke Russell extends his hand warmly. Let me show you around. Just as Bija is about to agree, a steady voice speaks up. Father. Fitz walks over, blocking the Duke. He reaches for Bija, pulling her into his arms. She's coming with me. He holds her tightly, his posture intimate and possessive. Everyone around them is stunned. I've never seen him like this. Amidst the crowd's whispers, Fitz speaks. Bija just wants to be alone with me. She whispers a protest in his arms. Not yet. Duke Russell looks a little dejected. I'm such an inconsiderate old man. Bija quickly explains, Your Grace, it's not like that. He walks away, crestfallen. Don't mind me, my dear. I prepared several rooms. Choose your favorite. Bija says worriedly, Young master, isn't this a bit much? Fitz looks at her. I have no choice. Bija, I just want to be alone with you. Fitz's voice isn't loud, but it reaches everyone's ears clearly. Oh my, is the master serious? The maids whisper. It seems the plan is working. Bija thinks to herself, but does he really have to act like this for a whole year? On the second day at the estate, Duke Russell rests his chin on his hands, his eyes sparkling. He stares at her unblinkingly. My dear, are you feeling uncomfortable in any way? Bija silently averts her gaze. You're making me very uncomfortable. He offers a cup of tea. Here, have some tea. It's very good. She takes the cup. Thank you, Your Grace. This feels far too grand. Bija takes a delicate sip. Fitz suddenly leans close to Bija. He gently wipes away a tea stain from her lips. You have something on your lip. His fingertips are warm, his breath so close. The air around them seems to turn pink. Bija's face instantly turns beet red. Thank you. Duke Russell brings over a cake. Try some cake, too. Thank you. She watches Fitz's strenuous performance, but feels a sense of relief. It's a good thing his acting is so bad. If he were really good at this, I might actually fall in love with him. She unconsciously clenches her hand. By the way, I just remembered. Fitz turns to Duke Russell. Did you find that book you were looking for? Duke Russell looks at him. You mean Tithonus's diary? Duke Russell replies, That's why I went to the palace. And what happened? That detestable man tried to marry his own daughter off to me. How dare he? As if my son has no say in the matter. Duke Russell's anger hasn't subsided, so I told him my son already has someone he loves. Bija's heart is gently touched. Your Grace. Duke Russell takes her hand, his palm offering warm reassurance. So I told him about you. It will be difficult for my son to hide you here. Is that all right with you? Bija smiles. It's fine. He's worried about me. I was prepared for this before I came here. As young Master Fitz's fiancée, I'll surely be taken to all sorts of events. Things will get tough, won't they? Her somewhat complicated reflection appears in the teacup. But there's no such thing as a free lunch. As long as I think about everything I can enjoy here, I can handle it. She makes up her mind. Fitz can't help but let out a laugh. Bija looks at him, a little surprised. Did he just laugh? Bija asks, Why are you laughing? Fitz immediately denies it. I didn't laugh. You totally did. No. A maid appears at the door. Miss Bija. The maid's face is etched with worry. Are you going to make a public appearance? Is there any other news from the palace? Duke Russell sighs softly. A strange disaster seems to have broken out across the empire. Come to think of it, these incidents also happened in the village. They're not natural disasters. It's more like someone is causing them intentionally. Reports of missing people have also increased recently. It's clear something suspicious is happening. Fitz's gaze shifts to the Duke. So you want me to investigate? Everyone sent to investigate has either disappeared or turned up as a corpse. You're the only one who can handle it. The Duke's voice is grave. If you can complete the mission successfully, they've promised to appoint a new state religion. Fitz's breath hitches slightly. A state religion? That's a religion that can represent the entire empire. A magnificent church bathed in holy light, symbolizing supreme authority and unparalleled glory. Bija looks confused. But what does this have to do with the duchy? Fitz faces the Duke. Understood. I'll be back as soon as possible. Bija turns to Fitz, her face full of worry. But young master, isn't that very dangerous? Sending Fitz to investigate a case with almost no clues. The Duke crosses his arms. Don't worry, my dear. His tone is proud. My son can use any magic except healing magic. Bija's cheeks flush slightly. Everything except healing magic? Bija's eyes light up. Maybe I can help. She looks at the Duke. Then, may I join Fitz's investigation? Fitz refuses flatly. Absolutely not. Bija is taken aback. Why not? Fitz's voice deepens. This mission is dangerous. No one knows what will happen. I might not be able to look after you all the time, Bija. Bija continues to press. I can take care of myself. Fitz is unmoved. I understand how you feel, but the answer is still no. He turns his face away, crossing his arms. Who would take their fiancée to such a dangerous place? Bija's eyes shift. In that case, I'll just have to show you. She suddenly reaches out and grabs the collar of Fitz's clothes. Don't you care about my feelings at all? Fitz is slightly taken aback. Bija's face is bright red. She turns her head away, pouting. My fiancé is such a blockhead. Two maids watch the scene unfold, looking amazed. Bija's voice carries. How can I stay alone in the mansion? She runs in front of Fitz and looks up, her eyes filled with undisguised pleading. Let's go together, please. Fitz remains silent, not saying a word. Bija presses. Why aren't you answering me? He remains silent, just looking at her. Fitz finally speaks. I'm sorry, Bija. You can come with me. He's already head over heels for her. Fitz's cheeks flush. He quietly turns his head away. A blue-haired man with sharp eyes. I am Alistair, young Master Fitz's personal secretary. Alistair stands by Fitz's desk. Fitz is handling documents. I'm living my best life, and it's all thanks to Miss Bija. Alistair looks at Fitz's focused back. He used to always procrastinate on his work, but ever since Miss Bija arrived, he's been working constantly just to make a good impression on her. Alistair feels gratified. I can't believe this day has finally come in my life. Fitz asks Alistair, what's on my schedule for the afternoon? Alistair replies, there's a letter from Count Ellen's territory. Alistair explains, they say they have an urgent matter to discuss. A light laugh is heard from outside the door. Alistair's face darkens. Who's chatting outside the office? The voices outside continue. You got some nerve. How can you talk about Miss Bija like that? Fitz's pen stills. Something's wrong. I'm not blind, you know. Fitz stands up. He walks forward, his steps heavy. Getting caught for slander is no small matter. Fitz suddenly appears before them. The two maids are terrified. Fitz crosses his arms, looking down on them. His eyes glow purple. The maids exclaim, Master Fitz. He asks coldly, what are you two holding? Fitz takes the book from their hands. The book reads, 28. The young master brings home his fiancée. The maids are flustered. This. Fitz points to the office. You two, follow me to the office. The maids hang their heads. Yes, master. We're done for. Fitz instructs Alistair. You wait outside for a moment. Alistair responds respectfully. Yes, master. The office door closes with a click. Alistair thinks to himself, this should be over in 10 minutes. 3 hours later, Alistair is still waiting outside the door. Why hasn't the master come out yet? Alistair peeks through the crack in the door. He thinks to himself, if this drags on any longer, I'll definitely have to work overtime tonight. Something's not right. Fitz reads aloud. The story begins like this. One day, the young master suddenly brought home his fiancée. It's said she's one of the top 5 beauties in the empire. No, Miss Bija is the most beautiful woman in the empire. Inside the office, the brown-haired maid is writing furiously. Under Fitz's watch, she crosses out the incorrect sentence. Yes, my lord. Alistair walks over, worried. Master, what on earth are you doing? Fitz replies calmly, handling an urgent matter. Alistair's face is filled with anxiety. There's still a mountain of work. A loud bang freezes the air in the entire room. That sound, in another room, countless papers fly through the air like a gentle snow. What was that? In the center of the flying papers, Bija sits quietly, as if sensing something. A ripple disturbs the lake of her heart. Time rewinds a few hours. Bija sits quietly at her desk, her gaze somewhat unfocused. No matter how I think about it, something feels off. She looks at her hands. Why has my magic suddenly gotten stronger? I haven't done anything. If anything has changed, the only possibility is meeting Master Fitz. That figure lingers in her mind. She recalls an old saying, if you stay around someone with powerful magic for a long time, you'll become stronger too. But she quickly dismisses this thought. The Duke and Alistair don't seem to have magic. Bijah leans back in her chair and sighs softly. Ugh, I give up. Her gaze falls on the book on the table. I might as well study. The page reads, Healing Magic. Since I don't know what the future holds, I should study more while my power is changing. But before that, I need to confirm how much stronger I've become. A magic circle on a diagram catches her eye. She recalls the testing method. Place your hand on the diagram, concentrate, and channel your magic. For a few seconds, Bijah takes a deep breath, closes her eyes, and completely calms her mind. The moment her hands touch the diagram, a soft light glows. However, the light vanishes in an instant, and silence returns. How could it not work? Is my magic too weak? Bijah refuses to give up. I'll try again, just a little more. Her fingertips touch the diagram again, with a hint of imperceptible hope. A soft light emanates from a paper. Bijah is a little surprised. Huh? The next second, a huge sound swallows everything. Books and papers are thrown into the air. Her scream is drowned out, and so we return to the present. Bijah lies on the floor, dazed. She lets out a pain sound. Her body won't move. The world before her gradually fades to black. The sound of light footsteps approaches. Someone is getting closer. The person kneels beside her, a look of unprecedented panic and heartache on their face. How foolish. Her consciousness drifts away. Silver hair flies in the void. A voice sounds. You're always causing trouble for others. Back here again? Just how stupid are you? I've told you so many times. A thick book appears in her hands. It's Tithonus's diary. The voice sounds annoyed. Hey, I'm giving you advice, and you're ignoring me. Bijah, holding the book, retorts for the first time. When has your advice ever worked? Today, too. She cannot understand any of this. The voice sounds. I can help you decipher that diary. A woman wearing a veil appears before her. Her words carry a gentle, unquestionable authority. But this time, you must listen to my story. Bijah holds the diary. How much can you help me? The veiled woman holds out a hand. 5 pages. Bijah immediately retorts, that's too few. At least 1 chapter. The veiled woman is surprised. Are you trying to negotiate? Bijah's voice is firm. No less. The veiled woman turns her head. Fine. The veiled woman takes the diary. She opens the book. Let's see. The diary contains a man's despair. Why is life so hard? In my next life, I want to be a rock, not a single ally. Everyone is making things difficult for me. Rain blurs his vision. Please, get me out of this hell. Bijah pokes her. Are you sure you're not misreading it? The veiled woman retorts. Why would I lie to you? The next line is a bit different. Listen carefully. Today, I'm in a rare good mood. Because he didn't appear before me. Bijah is confused. He? She presses. Who is he? The veiled woman closes the book. Now it's time for my story. The scene before her begins to blur. The light of the chandelier sways. Bijah's eyes fly open. She's lying in her own bed. I'm back in the real world. A plaintive voice echoes in her mind. Why'd you wake up so soon? You promised you'd listen to my story. A faint sound comes from outside the door. Bijah's breath catches. Fitz stands in the doorway, his eyes filled with unconcealable worry. For a moment, the air seems to freeze. Fitz's face is filled with worry. Bijah, he rushes forward, steadying her by the shoulders. Bijah, are you hurt anywhere? Are you dizzy? Bijah shakes her head. No, I'm fine. She looks down at her hands. Speaking of which, I fell pretty hard during the explosion, but I don't feel any pain. She looks up at Fitz. How long was I unconscious? Have years passed? Fitz's expression is calm. It's been 5 hours. A blush rises to Bijah's cheeks. Oh, that's so embarrassing. Fitz takes her hand. As long as you're not hurt, that's all that matters. He bows his head and gently kisses the back of her hand. Master. Fitz raises his eyes. I was so worried in that moment. Bijah's heart skips a beat. She suddenly remembers the explosion and quickly pulls her hand back. I'm sorry. How much do I have to compensate you for all the damage in the study? Fitz's eyes hold a hint of confusion. I don't understand what you mean. Bijah explains eagerly. I completely destroyed that room. Fitz shakes his head. The study is perfectly fine. If you don't believe me, you can go see for yourself. Bijah immediately tries to get out of bed. Then I'll go now. Fitz, quick as a flash, wraps her in a blanket. You just woke up. Don't move around. Rest well for now. Fitz turns to the maid at the door and says, Mary, stay by Miss Bijah's side and take care of her. The maid bows. As you command, master. Bijah quickly speaks up. Wait a minute. Fitz gently closes the door. He turns to face his assistant, Alistair. He heard. The assistant understands perfectly. Yes, master. Time rewinds. The assistant reports to Fitz. Everyone in the mansion has been gathered in the study. The staff is cleaning up the mess. Fitz says softly, well done. Make sure the study is spotless before Bijah wakes up. The maid Mary's voice is gentle. Miss Bijah, shall I read to you? Bijah, wrapped up like a burrito, struggles fiercely. Let me out. A few days later, the morning light of the capital shines upon the ducal mansion. Mary lets out a soft gasp. Wow, Miss Bijah. Bijah stands quietly, dressed in an olive green gown, a pearl necklace gleaming at her neck. A faint blush graces her cheeks, and a new light shines in her eyes. Mary clasps her hands together, her eyes full of sincere admiration. You look absolutely beautiful. Bijah turns, a smile on her face. Thank you, Mary. Mary bows slightly. It's my honor. Today is my first day visiting the capital. Ostensibly, it's to procure supplies in preparation for the upcoming investigation. Such a small task would normally be assigned to a servant. But when I mentioned I had never been to the capital, Fitz looked at her. Let's go together. He decided to take me himself. I've been buried in work. Going to the capital once felt like a distant dream. Bijah can't hide the smile on her lips. I'm actually a little excited. Footsteps sound from outside the door, one after another. Fitz's figure appears in the doorway. He's wearing a hooded cloak. Bijah, I've come to get you. Beneath the hood is Fitz's composed face, a purple gemstone brooch glittering brightly. Bijah responds softly, Master Fitz. Fitz's gaze freezes, fixed on her, unmoving. Bijah is a little puzzled, tilting her head slightly. After a moment of silence, Fitz's gaze softens. You're beautiful. Heat rushes to Bijah's face. She lowers her head. Thank you. Mary puffs out her chest proudly. Since it's the young lady's first date, of course I had to dress her up properly. Bijah is both shy and flustered. And Mary waves with a smile. All right, have a wonderful time. The streets of the capital are bustling with people. Bijah's eyes widen. Everything before her is exciting. Wow, the sun is shining and flower petals dance in the air. A brand new world unfolds before them. Bijah's eyes lit up as he looked. There was a fountain over there. He grabbed Fitz's arm, his eyes sparkling with a childlike glow. Bijah said impatiently, let's go have a look. His smile was brighter than the sun. He tugged him gently. Come on, hurry up. Fitz watched his retreating back, the corners of his mouth turning up unconsciously. The fountain spray was crystal clear. Bijah let out a gasp of admiration. Wow. He turned his head, wanting to share his joy with Fitz. Lord Fitz, but he was looking in another direction. A red-haired figure was walking towards them. The woman stopped in front of them. I knew it was you, Lord Fitz. Fitz's expression was a little surprised. How did she recognize me when I'm wearing a hat? Bijah's heart was also filled with doubt. The woman lifted the hem of her skirt and curtsied. I am Jane Ellen, the second daughter of Count Ellen. It is an honor to meet you. Jane's gaze was sharp and direct. She looked at Fitz, then at Bijah beside him. She scrutinized Bijah, and this is? Bijah replied politely, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Bijah. A knowing smile appeared on Jane's face. You're the rumored bride. Bijah froze. Bride? Wait, has he been telling everyone about me? At a banquet far away, the Duke had raised his glass and boasted endlessly for half an hour. Jane's voice pulled Bijah back to reality. My lord, my family sent you a letter a few days ago. Have you read it? Fitz's reply was concise and cold. No. Jane's expression turned serious. Recently, people have been continuously disappearing from our southern territory. That's why we need your help. Fitz listened in silence, lost in thought. Jane's gaze swept over Bijah. But if you decide to come, I hope you will come alone. My lord. Fitz tilted his head slightly wide. A hint of contempt touched Jane's lips. Surely you don't intend to bring your fiancé with you. A place like that is too dangerous for a lady. She closed the fan in her hand. Jane used the fan to lift Bijah's chin. Be honest. He looks like he can't even take care of himself. Fitz grabbed the fan. Mississippi. His grip was tight. Fitz's eyes were ice cold. What did you just say? The air instantly froze. The people around them began to whisper. What's wrong? Are they fighting? Bijah suddenly interjected, an innocent smile on his face. By the way, Miss Ellen, what brings you to the royal capital today? Jane's expression was displeased. My carriage broke down. The coachman is useless and can't fix it. I'm stranded here. Bijah smiled. I see. The sun is quite strong today. It wouldn't be good if Miss Ellen got heat stroke. We still have things to buy. Why don't we have our coachman take her back first? Jane calculated inwardly. If I borrow the Duke's carriage and coachman, I'll have an excuse to return the favor to the ducal house. She revealed a knowing smile. Bijah smiled back. I saw right through her little scheme. Bijah spoke up. Miss Ellen, the ducal house's coachman will take you back. Jane showed a proper smile that, oh my, thank you so much. Bijah looked at the coachman. Gilbert, please escort this lady back. Gilbert replied, yes, miss. Jane got on. The carriage was elegant. In the golden halo of light, it was like an oil painting. The coachman pulled the reins. All right, let's go. He raised his whip. The carriage gave a sudden lurch and began to bump violently. Jane let out a scream. She was in a panic, her hair a mess. What's happening? The carriage careened down the road, as if out of control. Bijah covered his mouth, secretly laughing. He turned his head and asked Lord Fitz, how long do you think it will take her to get home? Fitz watched the departing carriage, not a ripple of emotion in his eyes. I don't know, and I don't care. In the distance, the carriage swayed wildly, accompanied by Jane's screams and the coachman's helplessness. Time flew by. The day before the investigation, Bijah was organizing the documents on his desk. He sighed softly. Things have finally settled down a bit. He looked up and saw Fitz sitting not far away. Why, Lord, you dropped a document. Fitz came to his senses. Thank you for telling me. Bijah walked to his side. You haven't slept well for days, have you? If you're tired, you should rest a little. Fitz looked at him. I'm fine. I can handle this much. Bijah lowered his head, clasping his hands in front of him. But I still worry about you. Fitz was silent for a moment, then called to him softly, oh, Bijah. His gaze fell on his hands. Give me your hand. Bijah was a bit confused. Why hand? Something slipped from Fitz's fingertips and fell gently into his palm. Bijah looked down. Wait, this is... A flash of surprise appeared in his eyes. A piece of chocolate lay quietly in its wrapper. I was afraid you'd get tired during practice, so I brought this for you. Bijah looked at his tired face. It seems the one who needs to be taken care of is him. The room was quiet. Fitz noticed his silence. Bijah, are you not feeling well? He suddenly raised his head, an unprecedented light in his eyes. My lord. The air seemed to freeze, leaving only the two of them. Bijah's voice trembled slightly. Could you give me your hand? Fitz's cheeks flushed faintly. He looked at him, a little confused. Fitz hesitated for a moment, then held out his hand. Here. Bijah gently took it with both hands. A warm light shone from his palm. A gentle energy, like a stream of water, slowly flowed into his body. Bijah let go. How do you feel? Fitz flexed his wrist. The fatigue was completely gone. I can feel my body is much better. Thank you. Fitz looked at him. Bijah, you should rest too. I'm afraid things will be busy for a while. You really don't need to worry about me. I eat well and sleep soundly. I'm more worried about you, my lord. He always looks so tired. Fitz was silent for a moment, then said something that shocked him. Bijah, I don't sleep. Bijah sat up abruptly. What? Fitz's expression was calm. You know, my magical power far exceeds that of a normal person. The more magic one has, the stronger the body becomes. It doesn't get injured easily, and it doesn't age. Bijah's eyes were filled with disbelief. You mean you really can go without sleep? Fitz's answer was concise. Simply put, yes. Bijah tilted his head, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. I feel like it's not that simple. This is very suspicious. Fitz didn't explain further. In any case, that's how it is. The next morning, the sun was shining brightly. A group of people stood ready on the steps of the ducal mansion. Fitz stood at the very front of the group, looking around. Is everyone here? 3 people answered in unison, yes. Fitz's gaze was serious. This is our first investigation. It's very likely we'll encounter unexpected situations. If you find anything suspicious, report immediately. He turned to Bijah, especially you, Bijah. He gently took his hand, the warmth spreading through his palm, that if you feel scared, uneasy, or run into trouble, you must come to me. Understand? Bijah flashed a brilliant smile, clenching his fists in front of his chest. Of course. Don't worry. I nodded at that. All right, let's move out. The town square was bustling with people, filled with the clamor of a festival. Mary looked around. Are we sure this is the place? Holding a festival in a place rampant with crime feels strange. Alistair explained, this area is very famous among the locals. Because the foot traffic is so heavy, some people might not even know what's been happening here. Fitz's brow furrowed slightly, but I still feel like something is off. He stroked his chin thoughtfully. As far as I know, most of the disappearances occurred in this square. but among so many people, kidnapping someone is almost impossible. Alistair added, or perhaps the festival itself is a trap. Just then, a voice caught Fitz's attention. Wow! Bija's eyes were shining. Fitz looked at him. Since we're here, do you want to look around the festival? Bija's eyes grew even brighter. See, can't I? The stalls were lined with all sorts of trinkets. A man handed him a rabbit-shaped cotton candy. Bija held up the cotton candy and turned to face Lord Fitz. Oh, you want a bite? Fitz's body instantly stiffened. He whipped his head away, a flash of panic in his eyes. Bija was a little disappointed. Are you not having fun? Fitz avoided his gaze. Don't mind me. I've been to places like this many times. Many times? Alistair quietly leaned into Bija's ear. Miss Bija, don't be fooled by his handsome face. Alistair continued to whisper. When Lord Fitz was a child, he was always running away from home. He only settled down after meeting you. Fitz cut him off. That's a misunderstanding. He looked into the distance. I just like to wander around. I was looking for something, which is why I kept roaming. Bija asked curiously, what were you looking for? His memory returned to a sea of flowers. A little boy, looking up at a girl with flowing silver hair. I was looking for someone I met a long time ago. A very beautiful person. Bija said softly, I see. Everyone has their first love, I suppose. An inexplicable pang of pain shot through Bija's chest. Why did my heart ache so much? Night fell, and stars dotted the sky. They had found nothing. Fitz looked at Bija, who was sitting on a bench. You worked hard today. Bija, Alistair and Mary aren't back yet. Let's find a place to stay first. They walked into an inn. The bell on the door jingled. Welcome. 30 minutes later, Fitz's brow was furrowed. You don't even have enough rooms? The innkeeper explained. That's right, there's only one left. You won't find any vacancies elsewhere during the festival. Alistair suggested, why don't you two share a room? Mary and I will find a place outside the village. That's right, Miss Bija must be exhausted. Fitz looked at Bija. If you're uncomfortable, you can have the room to yourself. I don't sleep anyway. Bija looked at Fitz's tired profile, but he looked so tired. He made up his mind. Let's stay together. Fitz was stunned. What? Together? What? Alistair and Mary let out exaggerated shrieks. Bija's cheeks were crimson, but his voice was firm. The room. We'll sleep together in the same room. Fitz sat on the bed, his body a little stiff. Bija came out of the bathroom and called softly, my lord. Fitz's heart sank. He was wearing a pink bathrobe, water dripping from the ends of his hair. Thank you for letting me go first. The steam made his cheeks flush. Now it's your turn. Before he could finish, Fitz fell straight backward. Bija let out a short cry of alarm. He rushed to the bedside. Lord Fitz, wake up. He lay there, his eyes tightly shut, unconscious. Outside the window, the moonlight shone down quietly. The town was silent for the night. Bija's fingers were gentle as he wiped his jaw with a handkerchief. Fitz's gaze lowered as he began to speak. Bija took his hand, his tone slightly reproachful. This is why I told you to get some proper rest. Fitz's gaze was gentle. I'm sorry. He showed genuine concern that you'll get sick like this. Fitz replied calmly, Bija, I've already lived long enough. Bija looked at him in disbelief, but you're only in your early 20s. His words sent ripples through his heart. The situation is really not good. Bija's brow furrowed. He made a decision. I have to check. Bija rested his head on his chest. Fitz's whole body went rigid. Bija. Fitz's cheeks were tinged with red, but Bija's expression was focused. My lord, this is too strange. I can't hear any heartbeat. He suddenly pushed him away, the heat on his face not subsiding. This is all your fault, Bija. He looked bewildered. What? Fitz rested his head on his shoulder, his voice a little hoarse. You have to take responsibility. Marry me, and we'll call it even. The air seemed to freeze. Bija's hand touched his forehead. The heat from his fingertips was startling. My lord, your forehead is burning up. His cheeks were an unnatural shade of red. Bija decided at once that I'll go get a wet towel. But Fitz clung to him like a child. He mumbled incoherently, don't go. Bija looked down at him. He buried his face in his chest, nuzzling gently as if seeking warmth. Bija's gaze softened. So he has this cute side to him too. The moonlight shone through the window onto the figure he was watching over. The night deepened, the stars shifted, and the quiet time flowed by slowly. The morning birds began to chirp. Bija let out a soft hum. Fitz's voice sounded by his ear, tinged with morning laziness. Are you awake, Bija? His face was so close. Bija gasped. We fell asleep like this? Fitz hugged him from behind. His voice sounded in his ear, good morning. Is it my imagination? His cheeks were slightly warm, and his purple eyes held a hint of a daze. He looks much better than yesterday. Their eyes met, and something in the air quietly changed. The door was thrown open. Alistair rushed in. Lord Fitz. He stopped awkwardly at the door. Sorry to interrupt your beautiful moment, but there's something urgent. Fitz took the document and reviewed it with Bijah. The invitation read, "Want some uninterrupted family time?" The destination was Owen Lake, which was said to grant eternal life. Bijah's eyes sharpened. This looks way too suspicious. Fitz quietly agreed. Yes, and it's at Owen Lake of all places. That lake once belonged to a nobleman. It was later confiscated because of his crimes. That's how the story goes. And Owen is also the name of the Earl of Devon. He presented a box containing a scroll. Alistair looked troubled, but we have a problem. The invitation says only families with children can attend. People will only believe that a child born to a beautiful woman like Miss Bijah would be equally outstanding. Fitz said softly, if only Bijah weren't so dazzling. Fitz broke the silence. There's only one way. He added, but this requires your consent, Bijah. Bijah looked up. What is it? Fitz's gaze deepened. You need to. Fitz began slowly. You need to become a child. Bijah was stunned. Huh. And then I will. Fitz raised his hand. With a soft sound, a cloud of gentle smoke dissipated. He finished, play the role of your older brother. His eyes shone with a gentle light, a hint of an expectant smile, like a flower in spring quietly blooming. Fitz made up his mind. All right, let's do it this way. Bijah, I'm ready, he answered firmly. The maid, Mary, cheered softly from his side. A hand was placed gently on his head. A warm white light descended, softly enveloping him. The light filled the entire room, then receded like the tide. Everything returned to calm. A more boyish voice spoke up. H, how do I look? Bijah asked, a little uncertain. His cheeks were round and full, his long silver hair fluffy and soft. Have I really gotten younger? The maid, Mary, let out a shriek. Alistair stared at her in shock. Mary, how can you be so cute? Mary shouted excitedly. Fitz immediately stepped forward, looking at him with concern. Bijah, are you all right? Does your body feel uncomfortable at all? Bijah tugged at his oversized sleeves at UM. The clothes are a little too big, he answered in a small voice. Fitz's expression changed in an instant. His pupils constricted, as if he had seen some deep-seated brand. Fitz took his arm in both hands, his gaze deep and focused. Bijah was a little flustered, and no, it's nothing. His voice was low. Was it your adoptive parents? Bijah sat on the edge of the bed and answered softly, yes. Fitz out a soft sigh. Bijah looked up at him. Is he angry? Fitz stood up. Bijah was at a loss. Fitz pulled him into an embrace. Bijah froze. Lord Fitz. He tightened his arms, his voice gentle and firm. Bijah, you've been through so much. His words gently struck his heart. Bijah leaned on his shoulder, feeling this sudden warmth. He tried to push him away. I'm really fine. But his tears wouldn't listen, sliding down his face. The tip of his nose tingled. Really, I'm fine, he repeated in a small voice, but his sobs betrayed him. Late at night, he finally fell into a deep sleep, tears stained still on his cheeks. Fitz stood by the bed, quietly watching him sleep. The moonlight outlined his resolute profile. The gentleness in his eyes was gradually replaced by ice. Alistair. He asked softly from outside the door, is Miss Bijah asleep? Fitz closed the door. Yes. What do you plan to do with them, Lord Fitz? Alistair's tone was grave. Fitz's eyes were as cold as ice. They must die. That way, even if I'm gone, they can no longer harm Bijah. Fitz's voice pulled him back to his thoughts. There's one more thing to take care of. Alistair looked at him. What is it, my lord? Remember that silverite mine you found a few days ago? Fitz's reply was nonchalant. Give the entire mine to Bijah. Alistair was completely stunned. His mind went blank, and he froze on the spot. Alistair finally cried out, W.H. Fitz immediately stopped him. Be quiet. You'll wake Bijah. The carriage traveled through the woods. Alistair's voice was tinged with helplessness. I've told you so many times. Even if you give the entire silverite mine to Miss Bijah, he won't be happy. Fitz held the sleeping Bijah in his arms, his gaze never leaving his face. He retorted, and how can you be so sure? He was resting on his shoulder, his breathing even and shallow, completely unaware that he was the center of a debate. Bijah slowly opened his eyes. He blinked, finding himself in a sea of flowers. Am I dreaming? The breeze blew, and petals fell like rain. A voice came from behind him. Who are you? Bijah turned around to see a black-haired boy standing there quietly, his expression serious. That you're on my family's land now. That face. Bija's heart skipped a beat. It's Lord Fitz. But the boy was the first to question him. Answer me. Who are you? He was at a loss for words My name is... His memory became hazy, as if shrouded in a thin mist. The boy sized him up. That name doesn't suit you. Bija was a little curious. Really? Then what does? He gazed at him, his own reflection in his eyes. Bija, that name suits you best. Why Bija? He wondered. The boy saw through his thoughts. What? You don't like it? He shook his head. No, I like it. Bija smiled and hugged him tightly. He seemed a little spoiled. A voice called softly by his ear, Bija. He tilted his head slightly. The boy gave a brilliant smile to your mind, right? His words carried a hint of unquestionable certainty. His eyes grew deep. I'm yours, Bija. You'll come back for me, won't you? The sea of flowers began to dissipate. The world fell apart before his eyes, leaving only his repeated calls. Bija, Bija. A familiar voice pulled him from his dream. Bija, we're here. Fitz's voice sounded by his ear. Bija slowly opened his eyes. He sat up, looking around blankly. Where am I? The scene outside the window made him gasp. That rock. An endless expanse of crystals glittered with a faint blue light under the sun. The carriage stopped among the crystals as if it had driven into a dreamland. Why did you bring me here? Fitz's voice held a smile. I was originally planning to give you this silverite mine. He remembered Alistair's objection, but that would cause trouble for Miss Bija. He held him as he got out of the carriage and explained, actually, that's not it. My father just bought this mine recently. Since it's near the village we're investigating, I thought I'd bring you to see it. Bija let out a heartfelt sigh of admiration. It's so beautiful. He reached out a hand. Can I touch it? Fitz answered gently. Of course you can. His fingertips lightly touched the cool crystal as if touching a sparkling dream. Fitz's voice was gentle. The silverite's magic has transferred to you. Bija, you can absorb as much as you want. Bija looked at his glowing palm. Thank you, but I'm not sure if my body can hold any more magic. Fitz took a step forward. Have you heard the rumor? That if you stay with someone with powerful magic, your own magic will grow. He answered softly, yes. But neither you nor Alistair can use magic. Fitz gently lifted him up. It's not just about being near them. You have to have actual contact. Fitz gently nuzzled his nose. His breath brushed against his face. Something in the air changed. Bija, we've had quite a bit of contact, haven't we? He answered in a small voice. Why, yes. Fitz stood at the edge of the cliff, overlooking the entire mine. You don't want this mine? Bija's voice was soft. I do. But I don't want to owe you any more. The corners of Fitz's mouth lifted slightly. Yes, that's so? Then I'll just have to secretly transfer the ownership to you. You'll make better use of it than I would. As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding scenery began to collapse. The area was plunged into darkness. Bija called out in a panic, My lord, Lord Fitz. His voice echoed in the emptiness, but there was no response. He stood alone in the darkness, becoming the only source of light. It's so dark here, but for some reason, I'm not scared at all. He slowly moved forward. A door appeared in the darkness. Bija peeked through the crack in the door. Excuse me. Behind the door was an endless space. Books and papers flew everywhere, like stars and dust. A gentle female voice sounded that if there is something you seek, why not search for it? Bija was startled. Wait, this isn't a dream. What are you doing here? The woman replied calmly. No one can interfere here. This is the library created by the gods, recording all things in the world from the distant past. Bija was incredulous. S.O. gods really exist. The woman answered affirmatively. Of course. And Fitz and Bija also truly existed. Hope ignited in Bija's eyes. Since everything is recorded here, does that mean I can look up anything? The woman replied, Most things, yes. This is my only chance to learn about my birth parents. But a conversation between villagers surfaced in his mind. Have you heard? Duke Russell is looking for a physician who can cure his illness. With the status, he must have seen all the famous doctors. But if no one can cure it, it must be a very serious illness. Duke Russell's gentle, smiling face appeared in his mind. He called out softly, my dear. Bija's gaze became determined. I must find a way to cure Duke Russell's illness. A red-covered book floated towards him. With a sense of purpose, he reached out and caught it firmly. The pages flipped open on their own. The book read, Duke Russell, current head of the house, deeply cherishes his son-in-law, Bija, his health condition. He turned a page, fair. The word confused him. He continued to read, but his fingertips stopped on a certain page. His movement stiffened, and he saw something unbelievable. He has 2 sons. Bija trembled all over. What? Fitz's voice pulled him back to reality. Bijah. Fitz held him, his eyes full of concern. Bijah, are you all right? He responded in a small voice. I am fine. Fitz's brow furrowed slightly. I called your name several times, but you didn't respond. Bijah lowered his head. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just lost in thought. He fell silent again. 2 sons. He looked up, gazing at Fitz's profile. Even if I ask, he probably won't tell me. Fitz looked into the distance. Let's go back. Bijah said softly, okay. The next day, the market on the small road gradually became more crowded. Fitz took Bijah's hand. It's very crowded today. Make sure you hold my hand tightly. Bijah nodded. I will. He looked around. There are even more people than I thought. A boy followed them, his steps light. A small hand suddenly grabbed his. Bijah turned his head. A light-haired boy looked up, staring at him. Who are you? He suddenly broke into a smile, as bright as the sun. Hi. Bijah was a little flustered. You am? Hello. The boy was a bit shy. You're really pretty. A chill came from beside him. Fitz's eyes grew cold. He stared at the boy before them, but the boy didn't care. He just looked at Bijah. Can we be friends? Fitz reached out and gently covered Bijah's eyes. He said to the boy, sorry, kid. Bijah already has a boyfriend. The boy flashed a big smile, but that's okay. Fitz was stunned. What? Bijah gently patted Fitz as if to soothe him, then turned to the boy. Where are your parents? The boy replied, my parents are busy today, so I came out for a walk by myself, but I got lost. Fitz looked at him. You shouldn't be here alone without an adult. The boy looked relaxed. It's okay. I've lived here for a long time. A voice called from the distance. Entry is about to begin. Bijah said to him, sorry, we're busy right now. We can't play with you. The boy's eyes dimmed. Really? Fitz's face darkened, but the boy moved closer. He took Bijah's hand. Then let's play together later. The boy pointed into the distance, where a magnificent temple stood on a hillside. I live in that temple. You have to come visit me, okay? Bijah was in Fitz's arms. He smiled and nodded. Okay, I will. A staff member walked up. Excuse me, are you two entering together? Fitz held Bijah, yes. The staff member continued to ask, and your names are? Bijah answered first. My name is Betty, and this is my older brother. He gave a playful wink. The staff member smiled. You two seem to have a great relationship. Please go on in. The two of them walked down a sun-dappled path, Fitz holding Bijah in his arms. A sense of unease. A gust of wind blew, and the view opened up before them. A shimmering lake sparkled under the sun, but there were far fewer people by the lake than expected. Staff members were turning away some tourists. It seemed only children without parents, or those who wouldn't be missed if they disappeared, were still allowed inside. Bijah's face turned red. He waved his little fists. Those bastards. Bijah thought angrily, my lord, we have to catch the mastermind and throw them in prison. Fitz's voice was gentle and firm. Of course. A staff member walked over to them. So? Do you like the lake? Bijah was immediately captivated by the beautiful scenery, that it's big and pretty, and it sparkles. The staff member smiled. I'm glad you like it. Actually, besides the lake, there are many more things worth seeing here. Bijah's eyes lit up. Wow, I really want to go see. But Fitz's heart pounded with alarm. This is suspicious. The man turned to lead the way. Please follow me. He added, if anyone else is interested, you're welcome to join us. The two children looked at each other. Should we go? Let's go. A mansion appeared before them. Fitz looked at the man. Building a mansion in a place like this. The man pushed open the heavy doors. We're here. The group walked up the stairs, their footsteps echoing in the empty building. The man turned around. He had a mysterious smile on his face. Did you know? Owen Lake is beautiful now, but a long time ago, all sorts of ghost stories were told about this place. Bijah asked softly, what kind of ghost stories? The man pointed into the distance. You saw the temple by the lake when you came in, right? Legend says a strange god was once worshipped there. They even used live human sacrifices. Bijah shivered slightly in Fitz's arms. He looked up. What does live human sacrifices mean? The man's voice dropped. They say it was to resurrect their god. A blurry image flashed by. Devout believers and helpless prayers. Bijah's eyes sharpened. Then why are you telling this story now? The man smiled approvingly. You're quick. Mississippi. But the strange thing is, even with so many terrible things happening nearby, Owen Lake itself was never affected. Do you know why? Fitz held Bijah tighter. Bijah shouted petulantly. How would I know? The man smiled mysteriously. The answer? He slowly pulled something from his coat. Is right here. He held his hand out to Bija. It was a... He leaned in for a closer look. A charm. A charm in the shape of a small pink pig. The man began to ramble on. That's right. This is a magical charm. As long as you carry it, it will ward off evil and bring good luck. It can even erase 3 generations of bad karma. He held up the charm. Buyers can witness it with their own eyes. This is a miraculous. If it's cut him off, we're going home. This is a scam, he said to Bija. Let's go, Betty. The man was left standing there, stunned. The children began to whisper among themselves. Let's go too. They turned to leave. Yeah, let's get out of here. Bija sighed in his arms. How boring. Bija stared into the distance. But there's one more thing that's bothering me. Is it about that temple? A man stood alone behind cold iron bars. Looking at the robes of the clergy, a priest bowed. Father Kalen, the ritual is ready. Father Kalen didn't turn around. Very good. The followers prostrated themselves on the ground, awaiting the command. Father Kalen's voice rang out, begin. Their whispers merged into a torrent that O our God. A hand reached toward the sky, toward the brilliant nebula, Great Mesius. Moonlight fell on the path leading to the temple. Bija was walking alone. A soft call came from behind him, Betty. He stopped. The boy emerged from the shadows. He opened his arms and hugged him tightly. You really came to see me. Bija's cheeks flushed slightly. Machum. The boy let him go, his eyes full of curiosity. Where's that big guy who was with you? Bija was at a loss for words. Oh, him. His thoughts drifted back to an hour ago. Fitz carried Bija into the room. We're back. Alistair came to greet them. From the look on your face, things didn't go well. Fitz sat down wearily. Yeah. He sighed deeply. Bija looked at him. He must be exhausted. After all, he has to investigate everywhere during the day and deal with mountains of paperwork at night. Who could blame him? He knelt on the floor, his heart aching. I wish I could help him. An idea sparked in his mind. If I investigate the temple and show him the results, would he be a little happier? So, while everyone was fast asleep, I snuck out alone and came to the temple. Bija took the boy's hand. I ditched him. The boy nodded at I see. A figure appeared behind them. Enoch, Father Kalen called softly. Bija froze. He looked up. This man is... Who is that girl? Bija looked at the man before him. Red eyes. This guy is a total villain, but he's quite handsome. Bija stepped forward and held out his hand. My name is Betty. I'm a friend of Enoch's. Let's shake hands. The man led them into the temple. They were surrounded by people in cloaks. Bija felt it was strange. There's so many people here. Is there some kind of event today? A priest came forward. Father, everything is ready. Kayla nodded. Good. Bija looked at them, confused. Ready for what? He felt a sense of unease. Something's not right. He stared at the man before him. The man turned his head. Why are you looking at me like that? Bija explained. Oh, I was just curious about something. He gathered his courage and asked, Father, what is your name? He was silent for a moment. The main doors slowly opened, and light flooded. My name is Kalen. The name Kalen sounds familiar. Bija was lost in thought. The followers knelt in unison, bowing deeply towards the altar. Bija looked at the coffin on the altar. Who is that god? Kalen replied. We worship Mesius, the god of trade. Does everyone here believe in him? Yes. Then, as the god of trade, he must bring good luck to businesses, right? Kalen laughed. Not exactly. We offer him sacrifices, and in return, he grants us abilities or fulfills any wish we have. Then does that mean those people? Yes, they are today's sacrifices. What happens to the people who are sacrificed? Kalen's expression didn't change. Well, the methods change with the times, but they all die. Bija felt a wave of nausea. Enoch whispered in his ear, Don't worry. You'll never be sacrificed, Miss Betty. Kalen turned around. I mentioned it before, didn't I? You look a lot like someone I know. You mean Bija? Kalen's eyes softened. Yes. It seems you know him too. Mesius and Bija were good friends. To be honest, that's part of the reason I brought you here, Miss Betty. Bija tried to pull away, but Kalen's hand was like an iron clamp. Just having someone who looks like him makes him happy. Kalen held Bija tightly. The followers raised their hands, chanting a gray spell. Red energy surged from their bodies, converging on the altar. The figure in the coffin emitted a dazzling light. If I stand by and do nothing, they will die. I have to do something. Bija turned and shouted at Enoch, Enoch, go hide. Enoch was stunned. Hurry, Bija urged. Enoch's eyes flickered. He hid behind a pillar. Okay. Kalen looked at Bija, a hint of confusion in his eyes. He looked at Father Kalen. The Bija I know would never befriend someone who makes demands. A powerful force erupted from Bija. Kalen's eyes flew wide open. A huge burst of energy. Kalen was hit by the force, his body flying backward involuntarily. My body is too light. I'm floating. Just as he was about to fall, a pair of strong arms caught him securely. Bija opened his eyes. Lord Fitz. Fitz's face was hidden in shadow, his expression unreadable, but the arms holding him were trembling slightly. He lowered his head, his voice filled with suppressed rage. What are you doing here? Bija looked at his tense jaw, unable to say a word. Do you have any idea how worried I was? He pulled him into a tight embrace, as if trying to merge him into his own body. Those deep eyes were filled with lingering fear and heartache. Bija looked up at him from his arms, his amethyst-like eyes filled with pearls. My lord. Fitz let out a long breath. His warm palm rested on the back of his head, his thumb stroking gently, a tender gesture to confirm he was there. Bija hugged him tightly, his voice extremely soft, that I'm sorry. An ill-timed voice spoke up. Mary stood at the door, her expression awkward, that excuse me, sorry to come over while you're busy. She pointed to the two people kneeling behind her. What should we do with these two? They seem to be out of their minds. Fitz's gaze returned to its cold state. Take them outside for now. We need to interrogate them. Mary accepted the order. Yes, my lord. Bija was still in Fitz's arms. He asked softly, did Father Kalen get away? A small figure ran in. It was Enoch. He rushed towards Bija, tears streaming down his face, his voice broken. Betty, my parents, they're both dead. His small body trembled. He looked up at Fitz. What do I do now? I'm all alone. Pity filled Bija's eyes. Bija turned to Fitz, his eyes filled with a sincere plea. My lord, can we let Enoch stay at the ducal house for now? Fitz's gaze fell on him. After a moment of silence, he spoke. I'll allow it, because it's a request from you. Fitz's gaze turned to the boy, his tone leaving no room for argument. You'd better thank Bija, kid. Thank you, Bija. Bija responded softly, of course. We'll see each other again. The moonlight shone down gently, and everything returned to calm. Fitz spoke. We should go. Bija replied softly, okay. Fitz picked him up and walked through the moonlit courtyard, his footsteps echoing in the silence. The way he held him was steady, but the atmosphere was a bit awkward, Bija thought to himself. He recalled how Fitz had been earlier. That anger he had never seen before. His voice, suppressing his fear. You have any idea how worried I was? Bija lowered his head, his hands clenched tightly over his chest. This is all my fault. He had turned a blind eye to the truth, blinded by kindness he didn't deserve, indulging in false praise. He even naively thought that someone like him could save everyone, getting excited just because his healing magic had improved a little. He turned his face away, shame burning his cheeks. How pathetic. He finally gathered his courage and spoke softly. I'm sorry. Fitz's gaze did not move. Bija continued, I shouldn't have gotten carried away and made you worry about me. He lifted his face, his eyes full of guilt. I've become a burden to you, my lord. Fitz gently set him down, then knelt on one knee to be at eye level with him. Bija, why would you think that? Bija lowered his eyelids, avoiding his gentle gaze. Bija kept his head down, his voice very soft. I can't think of any other reason that would make you so angry. Fitz gently took his hand. The grip was light but firm. He gazed at him. Bija, I'm sorry too. Bija looked up in surprise. Why are you apologizing? The thought of possibly losing you, that thought is like an abyss. The fear makes me tremble. I couldn't control my emotions, even though you're the one who endured more pain. Bija shook his head. It's not like that. It's all because I acted on my own. He kept his head down. A tear slid down. I'm sorry. So please, I'm begging you, don't hate me. Fitz's voice was gentle and certain that I could never hate you, Bija. Bija raised his tear-filled eyes. How can you be so sure? After all, people's hearts are fickle. He turned his head back. His gaze met his. Then perhaps I'm not human. Bija was stunned. What? Fitz's voice was low and clear. I love you. He looked up at him, his eyes filled with unreserved sincerity. The air around them seemed to freeze. Bija, I've been in love with you for far longer than you can imagine. Fitz's voice held a hint of a plea. Oh, please, don't say things like that anymore. He gazed at him gently. It makes me very sad. Bija's heart skipped a beat. Lord Fitz, the kindest person in this world, the most wonderful person, is whispering words of love to him, saying his actions hurt him. Who wouldn't be moved by that? Oh no. I think I'm starting to like Lord Fitz more and more. Fitz waited quietly, giving him time to process everything. The next day, in the room, two Domeo people faced Bija and Fitz, raising their hands high and shouting, "Hooray!" Bija took a deep breath. "All right, let's begin." Her fist fell, lightly tapping the foreheads of the Domeo people. One after another, there was a crisp sound. The Domeo people slowly woke up, looking around in a daze. "What was I doing? Where is this? What's with these clothes?" Fitz put his arm around Bija, a slight smile on his lips. "It seems hitting them with healing magic really works." Fitz turned to Mary. "Take the ones who have woken up to the ducal manor. We need to interrogate them." Mary replied respectfully, "Yes, my lord. Your subordinate is here to report." We also found something else at the temple. When the temple floor cracked, the divine statue shattered along with it. And this is what was hidden inside. Bija's heart sank. An ominous red orb appeared before her. Fitz held the orb out to her. "Can you feel it?" Bija nodded. "I can." A nauseating aura washed over her. "This aura is too strange. It's definitely not magic. This must be what was controlling those people." Fitz's voice was cold. "That's right. Investigating this orb will be the key to solving this kidnapping case." Bija breathed a sigh of relief. "At least we've found a clue." Fitz's gaze softened. "A clue? This is a crucial clue, and we were able to find it all thanks to you." Bija's cheeks turned slightly red. Alistair stepped forward. "My lord, I think it's time for us to go." Fitz nodded. "All right, let's go." Bija spoke again. "Is there anything else?" A smile played on Fitz's lips. He cupped Bija's face. "There is one more very important thing, and that was..." The ducal manor was brightly lit. Bija, changed into a gorgeous gown, looked at the scene before her in disbelief. "My birthday party?" The duke was all smiles. "Yes, my dear. We will throw you a party grander than the royal families." Bija thought, this is too much. Bija gave a slightly helpless smile. "Your Grace, I grew up in an orphanage. I don't know what day my birthday is." The duke cupped his face in his hands, looking entranced. "If you don't know, we'll just pick a day to celebrate," he declared, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Bija thought, he says it with such confidence. She curtsied slightly, her tone as tactful as possible. "Your Grace, this is really too much. If I'm not firm, he won't listen." She turned around and crossed her arms. "For you to decide my birthday for me, to be honest, it's a bit troubling." The duke had a realization. I didn't consider that." Bija breathed a sigh of relief. "Yes, so we can cancel the party." A fire ignited in the duke's eyes. "Since I failed to be considerate of your feelings, my lady, I must make it up to you with even greater enthusiasm." Bija's hopes were instantly dashed. "That makes no sense at all." She and Fitz sat on the sofa. He sighed softly. He looked at Bija and explained in a low voice, "He just wants you to not worry and enjoy yourself." Bija lowered her eyes, a hint of sadness flickering in her purple irises. "But I'll be leaving here soon. Is it really okay to accept so much kindness from them?" The duke's voice rang out gently. "My dear, do you really not want a birthday party?" He gazed at her. "If you say no, not because you feel burdened, but because you truly don't want one, then please tell me." His voice was full of sincerity. "I just want to see you smile. If you don't like it, then it loses its meaning, doesn't it?" The duke lightly tapped his own cheek, a slightly embarrassed smile on his face. "I admit I was being a bit shameless just now." Bija's heart skipped a beat. "You want to see me smile?" Her cheeks flushed, and she lowered her head. Bija finally spoke, her voice soft but firm. "Actually, Your Grace, I want to be celebrated. It's just that no one has ever celebrated my birthday." Her cheeks were tinged with red. She looked up, her eyes shining with anticipation. "Can I be a little selfish this time?" The duke beamed. "Of course you can." "Your Grace, there's something I'd like to ask you." The duke was flattered. "What would you like to ask, my dear?" He opened his arms enthusiastically. "I'd even tell you the combination to my safe." Bija screamed internally. "I don't want to know that." She composed herself. "You are very knowledgeable about the gods, aren't you?" The duke smiled confidently. "Yes. Then have you heard of the god of trade?" The duke's smile froze for a moment. I'm afraid I don't know much about him." Bija's eyes were filled with suspicion. "Really? You really don't know anything at all?" Fitz's voice interrupted the conversation. "Father, I need to speak with you." The duke immediately turned. "Oh, all right." He hurriedly said to Bija, "My dear, I'm sorry. We'll talk later." Before Bija could react, "What? I still have more questions." The door closed heavily behind them, leaving only a sorry. Bija stood alone. What was that all about? It feels like they're hiding something. She looked at the closed door, her gaze becoming determined. A voice called out to her. "Miss Sia." She turned to see Alistair. She asked, "Have you finished interrogating those followers?" Alistair's subordinate replied, "Yes, but unfortunately, their memories are all jumbled." Alistair sighed. "If we had even one small clue, the investigation would be much easier." An idea flashed in Bija's mind. "Speaking of which, The priest who seemed to be the leader, he told me his name. He said his name was Karen. Alistair repeated the name. Karen. Bija noticed his strange reaction. Is something wrong? Alistair's expression turned serious. That name is the same as the Crown Prince's. An image of the blonde Crown Prince appeared. Bija gasped. The Crown Prince? She looked at Alistair. You've memorized all the members of the royal family? Alistair explained. I heard the Emperor has over 70 children. Since my master has no intention of remembering them, I took it upon myself to do so. It might just be a coincidence, but it's not a common name, after all. Bija fell in a deep thought. She turned to Fitz. If I could see him one more time, I'm sure I could recognize him. But it's too difficult to meet a prince, isn't it? Fitz stood behind her, his voice calm and certain. It's possible. He looked at her gently. We can invite him to your birthday party. Bija looked up in surprise. His Highness would come to my birthday party? A slight smile touched Fitz's lips. We've also invited His Majesty the Emperor. Bija was completely stunned. Bija's smile vanished. A trace of worry crept into her heart. I'm just the daughter of a baron with a questionable background from a nameless minor family with no reputation in high society. That's my current status. To throw a party for someone like me and even invite members of the royal family, they'll feel insulted. Fitz sensed her unease. That day will be more than just a simple birthday celebration. Bija was surprised. There's something else? He placed his hand over hers, squeezing it gently, offering silent comfort. On that day, we will officially announce our engagement. Fitz's voice, gentle yet firm, echoed in her ear. Fitz placed a kiss on her cheek. Bija's face instantly flushed red. The world stood still in that moment.